Vlog, a while ago. It's one of my favorites to keep on my YouTube. It's about teaching. It was at the basement of the Castlegar Library teaching about an ecocentric worldview and how, a worldview is going to be manifested in your actions. So I walk the talk. So as a culture repair, this human rights tribunal complaint that'll be against the province, and there'll be multiple things. There's a health authority, court papers filed. I'm doing all this stuff that isn't going to lead anywhere because, well, let me show you a song you should totally not believe in, because it really doesn't reflect the reality, right? Today is May 5th, and you see, the pipeline started up this week, and still a lot of unresolved issues with First Nations and their rights where this pipeline goes. And well, I'd be surprised if I saw the price of fuel go down significantly. Any kind of fuel, really, because of this pipeline. I mean, it's to balance budgets for the elites who live the lives of riches and elites, but also, it's not managed well, because if it was managed well, it would upset the norm, and the norm isn't into culture repair in Canada. I mean, yeah, so I can't really find innocent Canadians anymore. You see what's happening in Gaza and with our First Nations people still, and how really we should be putting pressure on the Vatican with this. We don't walk the talk. And of course, that makes the rare exclusion to that rule, the elusive Homo sapien who walks the talk, very, very unpopular. And that's okay. And my criminal cases, my human rights cases, none of this will really go anywhere in culture repair, although I will insist on it. Or they will have to pay me damages that are huge, that I would use 80% of this income for the culture repair. And it'll show that these institutions in Canada aren't into making the efforts themselves to not be hypocrites and to become unpopular and therefore walk the talk. Now, why am I doing this? If for me, it'll drain me, it'll scar me at my heart more, it'll make me suffer from species alienation more, which is a disappointment in my own species, which has been increasing because of the Anthropocene also increasing, but my coping skills have been also getting better at coping with species alienation, which you could say is my disability, but it's a disability that impacts you infinitely more than it impacts me. Alienation, and as much as I use some of my own skill sets, such as filing these cases, such as living a transparent life publicly put online, which is some of my coping skills as an Homo sapien living among you, the Homo communia, the species that is a failed primate accelerating the Anthropocene, which is you ruining heaven, and somehow you believe, all of you, that somehow merits going to your fictional supernatural heaven. I don't know how you can somehow believe these incompatible things at the same time. So can you imagine, like the Pope, for example, believing that if his own institutions would do research and they'd be fair in the social sciences about this research, and let's say it'd be Canadians. And I'm not saying they're good and we're good. I'm saying we're all bad. But let's say they do the research objectively to find out what criteria would go to heaven based on modernity, not based on the Bible rules that are outdated, and because people cling to it, it makes them as childish as they are now during modernity, these rules. Then we would find pretty much nobody's going to heaven, including popes. So who's going to heaven? Nobody's going to be there. So, and again, people that believe they're going to be there, the kind of conversations I have with them are not the kind of conversations that I want to have for an eternity if I was to go there. But again, I believe if your God exists, that he, she, it would make as much efforts to avoid honest conversations, transparent conversations, des conversations de redevabilité, comme le Québec évite avec moi. Et presque toutes les personnes qui sont québécoises évitent avec moi, including, English-speaking Canadians who also avoid accountability-related conversations with me. Now, if I am who I claim to be, a culture repair who walks the talk, who promotes accountability, who lives a transparent life, who understands Humanix patterns, who has come up with the theory that explains the majority types of mental illnesses, then why is it that I'm going to ask the question as I put in this video?